Taking a look at what I've got drawn up here are the individual sectors and the individual categories for job growth, where we're seeing the growth, where we're not. Take a look at construction. This is definitely a positive, an increase over the last month, something to the effect of 28,000 jobs. Leisure and hospitality is a little bit surprising to me because typically this time of year, you want to see an increase. We saw the increase last year. We've got 2024, 2025, and this is November of last year. Then you have the government decrease. To be expected, we knew that there were a bunch of layoffs. We did not see that in the beginning of the year because if they were receiving a severance, they weren't counted in unemployment. So we had a big drop off in October and then continued drop off. So we're now down 271,000 jobs. Retail, pretty flat. And then manufacturing. So with the tariffs, we're supposed to be bringing manufacturing back. But looking at this, where is it? We've had a decrease all year long. And then a bellwether of the economy a lot of times is the transportation sector. And we're seeing layoffs, which means people aren't shipping as much, they're not buying as much. And then temp workers, another bellwether, but don't look into this too much. This has been decreasing for some time, but you typically lay off temp workers first before you lay off your full-time. All right, I'm going to go to Google, pull up Google, and we'll pull up the employment situation. We'll take a look at their actual PDF. There it is. If you just type in employment situation, there's the report from BLS. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, look at PDF, and it'll show you all the details. I've already highlighted areas of weakness and things that are coming up ahead. So take a look at the civilian labor force. You did have an increase, 571 compared to September. We did not get October. We will never get October because of the government shutdown. But this is an increase in the civilian labor force of about 300,000. Look at this, going from, this is November of last year, July. Here you go, 7.2 million in July, 7.3 million, almost 7.4, September 7.6, and then November 7.8. So we are seeing unemployment rise. We know that with the headline number, but this just goes to show you just how many per month are becoming unemployed. Another area that I like to look at is the distribution of worker, who has a degree, who doesn't, and where the jobs are being added, because that will indicate how much money is actually going into the economy. We've got less than a high school diploma, high school grads, some college, bachelors. So those with less than a high school diploma, 8.8 million. So that's pretty flat. High school grads, but no college. We had an increase of almost 1 million workers here. But the area of concern is going to some college or associate's degree, a decline of 300,000, and a bachelor's or higher, a decline of 300,000. This area here is typically a higher paid worker. And if you have a decrease on that side, you're going to have a decrease in money going into the economy, which is an inflation driver. Going down further from an immigration policy standpoint, we have foreign-born and native-born workers, and the BLS breaks it down by both. And if you take a look at the civilian population for foreign-born, you can see that there's a decrease of about 200,000. Civilian labor force is pretty flat, maybe a decline of about 70,000. But if you go out to St. Louis, their Fred website, take a look at the peak in March. 32 million foreign-born workers, now down to 30.7. So a decrease of around 1.5 million since March. If we expand that, you can see the rise up through 2025, and then there's the peak, and then now you're starting to have a drop off. Big drawdown in the supply of workers. Another area I find interesting is taking a look at the full-time, part-time category as well as multiple job holder. This is November of last year, November of this year, 134 million. So an increase of about 800,000 full-timers. That's good. But on the part-time side, look, 28 million part-timers to 29.9, almost 30 million, an increase of 2 million workers. Not so good. Are companies reducing full-time and moving it to part-time because of benefits, or is there something else in play? Here I've drawn out the growth year over year in full-time and part-time. So you can take a look at full-time employees. This blue line here, we're definitely seeing a year over year decrease, but the part-time is increasing. This is typically when this, call it the alligator's mouth, when that alligator's mouth opens and you're hiring a lot more part-timers than you are full-timers, it's an indicator of weakening employment. This typically will precede a recession. We thought back about a year and a half ago that this was happening because you can see the alligator's mouth getting really wide, but then things improved. Things may not be so good now. It's worth watching. Nothing to see here yet. It's going to take a couple of months for it to work its way out, but keep an eye on this one. Thing that's more interesting to me, though, is this multiple job holders. This is not a good thing. Take a look at this. November of last year, 8.7 million people had more than one job. Now you're up to 9.5 million. So almost 10 million people have more than one job. We know money is getting tight. We know inflation's having an impact, especially on the lower to middle income workers. And this right here is a direct reflection of that. Over on the left side, we have the different categories and industries. Over on the right, we have non-seasonally adjusted, we have seasonally adjusted, and on the far right, we have the change from 1 month to the next. So total non-farm payrolls, we had 64,000 jobs add. Now let's look into the covers. You have a private, government, goods producing, and services. So taking a look at goods, 19,000 ads here, construction 28,000, manufacturing, this is where we're still seeing the decline in manufacturing. We're supposed to be bringing manufacturing back, but it's not happening yet. Non-durable goods, -1. Services producing, 50,000 jobs added here. But look at the declines. 12,000 decline in transportation, retail trade, call that pretty much flat. This should have been higher given the seasonal trends. Transportation, warehousing here again, 17. Information technology, -4. Banks, financing activities, -2. 12 in professional and business services. But one other area I like to look at is employment. So think of your recruiters, your temporary help. They're not hiring. -3.2 on the recruiter side. And you can see the decline. Look, 3265, 3190, 3178, 3175. So companies are letting go their recruiters. And we're seeing that here because they're not hiring as much. Now look, if it weren't for the private education and health services side, 65,000 jobs added here. This is consistent with what we've seen over the last several months. As the aging population increases, healthcare is where the ads are. If it weren't for healthcare, then you would have had a negative jobs growth. There's their leisure and hospitality, -12. Amusement parks, gambling, recreation industries, -15.2. And government, -5. So overall, if it weren't for healthcare, you would have had a decrease in jobs. Now keep in mind, Powell said last week in the FOMC press conference that this is overstated by about 60,000. We've seen that a couple of years in a row where jobs were revised downward by about 1 million over the year. So all in, we are seeing continued revisions downward. August and September were revised downward. You have a big 105,000 job decrease. You did have the job ads, but keep in mind, in November, this was related to healthcare. And if job growth is overcounted by 60,000, we've had actually negative job growth for the last few months, except for this month here. What's interesting to me, though, you have the government shutdown right during the period that the furloughs that were completed back in February and March timeframe, fast forward 9 months, just happened to be at the same time the government shutdown. So if this number would have printed last month, this would have driven rates down and the market would have probably corrected quite a bit. But instead, with the government shutdown, everything was buried. Now we know about it, but you know what? It's in the past. We were told to look at this report. Don't give it a lot of weight because there is a margin of error. And I agree there is a margin of error, but the government side, there wouldn't have been a margin of error because we know there were 400,000 people let go. And we know that federal government employment is down by 271,000. So if that would have printed last month, we would have seen a big shift in rates already, and we would have seen the stock market decline. But we can't do anything that makes the administration look bad, so it is what it is. Where do we go from here? There are arguments to both sides. One, you have inflation. People think that inflation may still creep up, and there's a possibility if rates come down too quickly. Then you have the other side. You have weakening employment. We know that weakening employment is definitely occurring, but inflation, could this be a repeat of the 70s? If we drop rates too quickly, it can definitely be a repeat of the 70s, and then you have to have a couple of recessions and then high interest rates to finally kill inflation like we did back in the 80s. Or unemployment could rise. It is a very difficult time for the Fed to decide which mandate are they trying to solve for. I'm in the camp that I don't think inflation is a problem. Inflation is a one-time price bump with the tariffs, and then it will eventually come back down. But overall, it will not have an impact on growth year over year, as we saw back in 2022-23 timeframe. However, I think the bigger problem is weakening employment. If this continues to weaken and unravel at a 4.6 headline, we see some of the other numbers below the surface that are starting to weaken. It will take several months for this to creep up. What the Fed will end up having to do is fix the short end of the curve, and potentially, if they add to QE, they will be buying bonds on the long end to bring rates down. Here's the curve today with interest rates. The very front end of the curve is what the Fed controls. This is the overnight rate over here. Right now, the 1 month is listed at 3.96. The long end of the curve, the 10-year where mortgages are based on, is 4.01. Add about 200 basis points and you're going to get about the 6% mark for mortgages. What will happen in the short term if unemployment continues to decrease at a slow rate? This section here will continue to drop. What will end up happening over the next several months, in my opinion, is you will see a curve like this. It'll go back to normal. It'll be a steepening yield curve. The front end of the curve is going to drop, so that's going to be positive for like your 2-year treasuries, and it'll be positive. But over on the 10-year side, the 10-year side will not come down as quickly unless unemployment degrades faster than they think. Then in this case, you would have a drop in all sides of the curve where even the 10-year will come down. If the 10-year does come down because of weakening employment, you can expect mortgage rates to fall. This will be a positive on that side. Unfortunately, you're going to have higher unemployment. So all in, be cautious. Know that rates are headed down. There are a couple of opportunities to trade on this side. I am currently long on the overnight rate. I'm not long on the 10-year unless unemployment weakens. Then I will become long on this part of the curve. And with that, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know if you like this video. Send me a note in the comments, and happy trading. Have a good one.